Power Hour with John Lee.
But interesting, to say the least. It's Helen Golay and Olga Rutterschmidt. Now, they killed 2 people in LA. I know, last 20, 30 years, 90s, early 2000s. I mean, they were at large for a period of time. And Helen was American and Olga was Hungarian. And they killed a guy called Paul Varos in 1999, and they killed a guy called Ken McDavid in 2005. And these were homeless men, right? And they'd had their lives, and for some reason they'd ended up homeless. And what had happened was that Helen and Olga had gone to the homeless shelters down there in LA, in what's it called? The area of LA, Skid Row, where the homeless people live. And they go down and they're hitting this church and they're hitting this shelter, and they're going down there to help, you know, and they're convincing everybody that that's what they're there to do. And then they're taking these people in, they're taking these men in, and they tried it with a few, but they definitely achieved it with these 2. So what they do is they take this homeless person in, they put him in accommodation, they feed him, they keep him more or less clean, certainly healthy, and they, at the same time, they open as many insurance policies as possible, up to 20 insurance policies, life insurance policies on this guy, and they keep him alive for a couple of years to throw off any suspicion. And one says that she's the cousin, one says that she's the girlfriend. On other forms, it says that they're all business partners. And then what they do is they take the victim, they drug him, right? However you drug people, crush it up, put it in the drink, put it in the food, whatever, knockout pills, and they drive out with the guy in the car like that, and they pull the guy out of the car, dump the guy in the road, and then they back up the car, I don't know, 40 metres, and they smash it back down the alley, and boom, right? They go right over him and crush him and kill him under the car. And then in one case, they phoned like an AA or a road help service, rescue service, because there's something wrong with the car, and got the car towed home. So I mean, the idea that you're gonna go to somebody and say, right, you're homeless, I'm not. I'm kind, I'm a good person. I'm going to look after you. I'm going to take you off the streets. I'm going to put you up. I'm going to feed you up. And I'm going to save your life, basically, and be a hero. And you just need to sign that. And if you don't sign it, you're out the door and back on the streets again, by the way. And you're going to feed them up and clean them and look after them. And I assume have some kind of relationship with them. And all the while, you're taking out these insurance policies because you know you're going to kill them. That's what it's all about, baby. You want the cash. And so when you spent enough time on that, then what do? You drive them out, you drug them, drive them out into an alleyway, push them out of the car, position them in the middle of the road, run over them in the car and kill them. And then you go and collect the cash. Because that's what it was all about. Now, what's interesting about these 2 women, they're not in a relationship with each other. They're not, girlfriends. And they're not related. One's American, one's Hungarian. What's interesting about them is that they're both over 70 years of age. These are little old ladies, man. These are the last people in the world you would expect. They knew it and they capitalised on it. Did they wait till they were old ladies before doing this shit? Because they wouldn't have got away with it before. But then they've looked at each other one day and thought, nobody would suspect us, would they? We could do this. We can kill people for the life insurance, but how are we going to go about it? So they've planned it all out in advance, you see. This is what's sickening about it. And so when they're being investigated eventually by the police, they never appeared together. They were tailing both and they never saw them together, ever. So this is how professional, I'll mention that because this is how professional they were in their endeavours. They never got seen in the same place at the same time, so they could never be connected. because they were engaged in this enterprise, and that's what it was. And what's amazing is that when they got arrested, I mean, one of them, the Helen Golay, she's giving it the big and all. I'm innocent. I don't know what you're talking about. Me, fraud, because he got arrested for fraud at first. She knows she's done double murder. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Me? Yeah, you. Yeah, you and your mate. So they get arrested, and, you know, they were old ladies at the end of the day. So they've been taken into the interview room. The cops have left the interview room and left the cameras on. So they're in there, and the Olga beast from Hungary, she starts giving it to the other one. You were greedy, right? You took too much. You're going to get sent down. You're going to be in prison. You know, they're going to send us both down because of you, and basically admits it on the camera. So I really don't know enough to say whether or not one was dominant. I think Olga seems in the conversation to be very aggressive, at least. But who manipulated who, or what the dynamic was, I don't really know. But the idea that you can get two psychopathic, psychotic old ladies who are not only able to kill people, but actually planning it for fucking years and carrying it out. I mean, if you were one old lady like that and you wanted to search the planet for another old lady who's just as fucking evil as you, that'd be a task in itself. But they actually found each other seemingly organically. I don't know if they met on some kind of psycho granny website that I don't know about, but that is a particular dynamic there. So, yeah, they killed two men, but in particularly interesting ways and circumstances. Boom, Sante and Kenny Kimes. Also in LA, also 2 kills. Interesting dynamic. So Sante, who was known as Dante when she was a kid, she had so many names, this woman, and she had a Dutch mum and an Indian dad. All right. I mean, he was proper, like, you know, traditional Indian style. And her mother was a really pretty Dutch lady. But she had some siblings, Dante, or Sante should we call her. I'll just call her Sante. But she was a psycho when she was a kid. Psycho. Torturing animals, burning her little sister, constantly attacking her. Really brutal. Attacking her mother in many ways, you know, horrible little child. And she grows up like that, and she's a psycho. And she develops into a beautiful woman, actually. She looks very much like Joan Collins, and I don't think that's an accident. I think that was done by design. And she was very intelligent and very charismatic and charming and funny, and all the tools you might need to conquer somebody mentally rather than physically, and physically as well, but not in that way perhaps. And anyway, she marries a rich guy. Well, she doesn't marry him, she hooks into him. A guy called Ken Kimes is a self-made millionaire, and he won't marry her because he's got kids, and he's saying to everyone now, I'm not marrying that Sante because she wants me money, and I've got kids, and my kids are getting my money. And they actually have a kid, Kenny Jr. Ken Senior dies, she gets nothing, but she's been bringing up Kenny as a total drone, right? Homeschooling, the works. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm saying she employed it so she could control her child. And she brings him up very, you know, almost inappropriately close. And they need to get some money together because, as I say, the father dies. Ken Senior dies, and he leaves them basically nothing, or certainly not enough for the lifestyle that they want. And so they Sante targets a guy called David Kasdeen, starts extorting him, going behind his back, getting loans out in his name, putting his name on documents, forging his signature, the works, you know, the typical kind of fraudy kind of stuff. And when he finds out about it, he's not impressed, he's not feeling it, right? And so he starts making noise about it, and he's saying, what are you doing, and why are you doing this, and why are you doing that? And so they kill him. And they dump him. You know, they put his body in a dumpster. I mean, this was a nice guy that she'd known for years, friend of the ex, Ken Kimes. He's, you know, businessman, and he was terrified of her. They were parking outside his house, and he was telling his family, if you see that car, don't go outside. So she was a scary person. And she was with her son. And so they were working together. This is mother and son. And they go round, and the son goes in, Kenny, goes in, walks in behind this guy. Look, I've just come to talk to you about this deal and that deal, and I don't know what's going on. And he turns his back and walks away. Kenny pulls the gun out, bang, shoots him in the back of the head. And then he's dragged him out, put him in the car. They've took him down a back alley in LA. Boom, body in the dumpster. I mean, what kind of mother and son orchestrate and perpetrate something like that? One has to ask. And so they were on the run. They went all over the country doing their thing. And they end up in New York. And there's a woman called Irene Silverman. And she was an ex-ballerina. Little dainty little woman. And she was about 82 years old when she had the misfortune of encountering this filth. And she was renting out rooms in a big New York townhouse. And of course, they didn't have the money, or they certainly weren't going to spend it. So they went along, and Kenny Kimes uses a false name and false this and false that, false documentation and ID. And they start renting a room. And she's Irene Silverman, she's keeping a log. Strange behaviour day 1, strange comments day 2. And so she knew something was wrong with these people. And they were trying to scam her. They were trying to do what they do. And she got in the way, basically. She pissed them off one way or the other. And so Kenny Kimes attacked her. This is an old lady, right? Probably 5 foot tall. And he's a young man. He's 23 when he does this. He attacks her and strangles her from the front. I mean, I don't want to imagine that, but to attack an old woman and strangle her from the front, killing her anyway is bad, but to do it like that with your hands. And then he's put the body in a suitcase, right? And the suitcase is on wheels, and he's wheeled the body out. He's gone down in the lift with the old woman dead in a suitcase. He's walked out the door into the street in New York. People, cars, cops probably. He's come down the steps, pulling this fucking suitcase with the corpse of an old woman in it. And he's loaded it. He's walked down the street. And he said later, he just walked down the street, nobody looked at him, didn't think twice about it. And he wheels up the suitcase, picks it up, and puts it in the back of the car. Drives the car, same thing, puts the body in a bin, basically, in a container. And that body was never found. We know that happened because he admitted it and talked through it in such detail that it was proven. But in a dumpster, she was put, strangled and dumped in a dumpster, which is why they're called dumpsters. And anyway, by this time the cops are on them for various kinds of things, fraud particularly, and they're heavily suspected of murder. They stake them out. Eventually Kenny turns up, they're waiting, they're spying on the mother. The son turns up and they jump out, boom, nicked. And he pisses himself. So this is the kind of man you're dealing with. He actually fucking wet himself. They get sent down and they're protesting their innocence. They're in the media all the time. It's a fit-up, it's a set-up, it's this and it's that. This could happen to you, kind of real kind of media campaign. And, we are the martyrs, we are the victims in all this. And so they're doing an interview. I don't know whether it's CBS maybe, is interviewing Kenny Kimes, and there's a woman. They send a woman to do it, okay, but he grabs a pen. They're doing the interview. He grabs a pen, grabs her by the neck like that. She's fucking dead. You let me out, right? You let my mother out, or she's dead now. And it took him hours to resolve that situation. So he was very much capable of violence and murder. In the end, he confessed to everything to save his mother's life.